Okay. So today we're gonna continue working, but we're gonna move on to a different section actually. So yesterday and on Tuesday, we've been working on task number 4 of the speaking section, right? And remember that was the last task of the speaking section, task number 4. So today we're gonna start with the writing section already. And we're gonna start with the first question of the writing section. Okay, you guys will see. So hang on. Okay. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say the writing section is very similar to the speaking section in terms of the fact that both are production sections, right? Where you get to produce your own responses. There's no such thing as a right or wrong answer, right? In the writing section. And it's also similar in the sense that you will still have these two types of questions. Same as in the speaking, you will have integrated questions and you will have independent questions, okay? So when you get these integrated questions, which is just one, when you get the integrated question, to be more precise, you will be asked to integrate different skills. So it won't just be about your writing, but it'll be about other skills as well. So you'll maybe have to read something, maybe you'll have to hear something, and you'll have to read all of your skills into your response. Versus the independent question, which is only about you, right? Only about the way you write, only about your opinions and your ideas and so forth. So we're gonna start today with the integrated question of the writing section, okay? So remember, it's important that you guys know where we are. Again, we're in the writing section and we're looking at the first question out of 2 from the writing section, okay? Basically, we're doing the integrated question. Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions before we start? No questions? All right, good. So, the writing section. Well, basically, it's important also to know how they evaluate your writing section, right? So, if there's no such thing as a right or wrong answer, then what am I supposed to do to get a good score? So this is it. Basically, they'll evaluate your response based on 2 things. The first one is the content of your writing. So that has to do with you, first of all, when I say task fulfillment, I mean when you actually answer the question they ask. They will ask you a question. They will tell you to do something. So if you guys are actually answering that question, if what you're saying, if what you're writing is coherent, it makes sense, it's concise, which means you're not repeating too much the same ideas, you're not being redundant. If it has a good length, so that means that it's not like one paragraph, it's actually like an essay, then it'll be okay, right? So that's task fulfillment. Of course, they will also want to see how much you support and you develop your ideas. So it's important that what you're saying is detailed and it contains an in-depth explanation. You're presented relevant details, relevant examples. You're justifying what you're saying. And another thing that has to do with content is related to how you connect your ideas, right? So are your ideas well connected? Are you using transition words to connect your ideas? Do the ideas flow easily and naturally? Or maybe you're forcing too much and like you're switching from one idea to another completely different idea without any transition in between. So that has to do with connection. And a structure, basically, do you have the structure of an essay, of a well-written response? Or maybe you're missing a structure and you just have like sentences that are there alone, right? Without any type of anything connecting them. So that is content. And second thing that they're looking at is the language that you use. So this has to do with the tools that you use to write. So basically two big things, vocabulary and grammar. Vocabulary has to do with, are you showing the range, a wide range of vocabulary? Like, are you showing the vocabulary for a basic, intermediate, or advanced student? And is the vocabulary you're using actually appropriate to the topics and to the question? Or maybe you're using vocabulary that's not appropriate to this task. That's vocabulary. And grammar has to do with obviously not making too many grammar mistakes, trying to avoid making grammar errors, and showing that you have grammar variety, right? Which means, are you showing complex grammar structures, or maybe you're just sticking to the basic ones? So that also shows your level, right? If you're writing with too basic vocabulary and too basic grammar, then that means that maybe you still haven't mastered the complex grammar structure, right? Not determine your score. So those are the things that they're looking at. Okay, that's basically how they will evaluate your response based on this criteria. Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions so far as far as this goes? No questions? Everything okay? Clear? All right. So what is it that you guys have to do for the integrated writing, which is the first task? This is what you'll have to do. First step is you reading a passage. So you will have to read an article or a text or a passage for exactly 3 minutes. They will give you 3 minutes for you to read this passage. After you're done reading, you will have to listen to a lecture where the professor will talk about that same article. And finally, you will hear and get the question, which is basically going to ask you to summarize everything. And you'll get 20 minutes to write your response. You have to type it on a computer, and it has to be an essay, okay? It has to be an essay. So is that okay? Do you guys have any questions as for the format? No questions? Everything clear?
Yes, clear.
Great. So let's just start with an example, okay? The best way to learn is always by giving examples. So let's just start right off with an example. One thing I wanted to tell you, well, we'll get there in a bit. So this is gonna be the first thing we do. Do you remember how many minutes you'll have to read, the article?
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Great. So this is gonna, this is the
3
article.
minutes.
Okay, thank you. So this will be the article we start with. Remember, you'll have 3 minutes. So starting now, you'll have 3 minutes. Please begin reading. Yeah. So is that okay? You guys done reading? All right. So first thing, as you can see, in this article that you read, you have 4 paragraphs, right? You have the first, second, third, and fourth paragraph. The first paragraph is an introduction, right? I don't know if you noticed, but it's an introduction because it talks about the topic in general. That's the introduction. And the rest is the body. Do you guys see any conclusion? Is there a conclusion in here?
No.
No, right? No, there's no conclusion. So the 3 paragraphs that you see here are the body paragraphs because they are the body of the article, right? Now, that's always going to be like that. You will always have 1 introduction, 3 body paragraphs. Now, I won't lie to you, there are different types of texts that you can have. There are different types of texts and lectures that you can have, okay? This is the most common type. This is what we call an argumentative text. Do you guys know what an argumentative text is?
Give reasons about something.
Exactly, reasons about something, right? So it's like when you have an opinion, you say something, you're trying to convince somebody of something, you need to give reasons, right? You need to give evidence as to what you're saying. So that's pretty much what you have in here. I don't know if you noticed, but the person who wrote this article, we're gonna call him the author or her, maybe it's her, I don't know. So the author of this article has an opinion, right? An opinion on the topic. What is the topic? What is this about? What's the topic of this article?
Car driverless.
Sorry, Winter?
It's about car driverless.
Exactly. So driverless cars, that is the topic, right? Driverless or autonomous cars. Now, as I was telling you, this is an argumentative type of text because the author has an opinion about that topic. So what is the author's opinion about that topic? Can you guys tell me?
Opinion.
Sorry, Manuel?
An opinion, I think it could be when he talk about the time that the passengers don't waste focus in the driving.
You're sure? Yes, that's an opinion too, but what is the main idea, the main
Okay,
opinion
main
from the
idea.
author? Yes.
It can be the use of technology.
Okay, is that an opinion though? You sure? What does the author think of driverless cars? Why? What's their opinion about the topic?
They will have a positive impact on our driving experience.
Exactly, great, Alejandra, thanks. That's correct. So, first thing, the main idea of the text, the main idea of the article will always be in the introduction. Okay, so you gotta search it there. So we know the topic is driverless cars, everything's about driverless cars. And as I'm telling you, this is an argumentative text, which means that the author will have an opinion about those. In this case, his or her opinion is that these cars will have a positive impact on our driving experience, right? That's an opinion. When he says positive, he's judging, right? How can you tell something's good or bad, if something's positive or negative? That's an opinion. So that is the main idea, the main opinion of this text. And in the body of the text, in the body of the article, the author is providing evidence supporting that opinion, right? So the author cannot just say something, they have to prove it. So they are giving reasons, as somebody was saying previously, giving reasons to support that idea. How many reasons do we have?
3.
3, exactly. So if you can, I don't know if you noticed, but you have 1 in each body paragraph, right? The first one that we have in the first body paragraph.
About the traffic accidents.
Okay, and the accidents, yes, it has to do with the accidents, but what else? What's
Well,
the,
is to reduce the traffic accidents because the driver's car has sensors to prevent that accident.
perfect. So yes, the first reason that the author gives explaining why these cars will have a positive impact is because they will reduce accidents. But there's one keyword that I'd like to hear. They will reduce accidents, which means that they will be,
Are caused by human error.
yeah, that's correct too. So they won't cause accidents that are usually caused by human error, which means that these cars are
Safer.
exactly. These cars are safer than the usual cars, right? I'd say that's the key idea. That's the key word. These cars will be safer. Now, of course, we can explain why. So why are these cars safer? These cars safer, sorry, because they will reduce accidents, because they're not prone to error, because they avoid I mean, there's no way that a human can cause a mistake here, right? So that is basically the main idea, right? That the cars are safer or will be safer in any case. And we can explore that idea a lot more, but the main point I'd say is safety. What about the second point?
Those kind of vehicles are good for the environment.
Exactly, great. That's the second idea, that's the second point. So according to the reading, second reason why they will have a positive impact is because they're good for the environment. Probably better than normal cars, right? And then they explain why. But the main point is that they're good for the environment. What about the third, the last one?
The
Um,
passengers.
Yeah, perfect, exactly. So another reason why they will have a positive impact is because they'll give passengers time. And that's it, right? That's a great summary of the entire text. So that's what I want you guys to do when you're reading. You already know the structure. You will have the main idea of the entire text in the introduction, and you will have one main idea of each paragraph. So what I want you to do is identify those main ideas, only the main ideas and only some keywords, right? If you were to take notes, you are allowed to take notes. So if you were to, then you can write down drivers, safety, environment, and time, right? Those are the keywords. Now, I don't suggest that you guys take notes, especially not like detailed notes. It's because this won't go away, all right? It won't disappear. Even when you're writing your response, you will still be able to read the text. So you don't actually need to take notes, all right? It won't go anyway, and it's just gonna stay on your screen while you're writing, all right? Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions about this so far?
I don't understand. You say that the text is all the time in the prompt.
Exactly. It will be on your screen.
Okay. Okay.
So I actually have an example. This is how your screen is gonna look like when you're writing, okay? First thing, you'll get your 3 minutes to read, then you listen to the lecture, and finally, when you have to start typing your response, because you'll have to type it on the computer, you'll be doing that here. So you'll start typing here. But as you can see, you have the text on your left. Okay, so it'll be there. It won't go away. It's just gonna stay there. You'll have the question on top, the text on the left, and you'll also have the timer here. So they're gonna count down the 20 minutes you have. Okay, and you have to type your response here. That's why you don't need to memorize anything from the reading, and you don't have to take detailed notes. Okay. Is that okay, Dan? Any other question? Hey guys? So, are you ready to listen to the lecture? I wanted to say, what can you expect from the lecture? In the lecture, you will have a response to the article. Okay, so whatever the writer said in the article, the professor will respond to those points. In this case, when you have argumentative text, that means that when the writer has an opinion, then the professor will too. So the professor will have their own opinion, which is always going to be the opposite or objecting what the writer said. So if the writer thinks that these cars will have a positive impact, then the professor will object that. The professor will say, no, you're wrong. These cars won't have a positive impact. Then the professor talks about safety. The writer talks about safety. The professor will respond to that argument, of safety. The professor talks about the environment. So the professor will say something about the environment too. And the writer talked about time. So the professor will respond to that as well. Okay, so basically what you will have in the lecture is a direct response to what you just read. That's a great thing, okay? I really want you to take advantage of that because that makes you an active listener. You already know what to expect and you already know what you're looking for when you're listening. So you're like paying attention to specific parts. You know that you need an answer think or how does the professor feel about the safety of these cars? How does the professors feel about the fact that they will help the environment? You'll already have those questions in mind, which is going to make you more alert and more likely to catch the relevant information from the lecture. All right? That's really important to say. So you already know what to expect, what to look for when you're listening. You have to take notes when you're listening. You only get to listen once. That will go away. So it's just one shot that you get there. So please pay attention, take notes. Do you guys have any questions before I play the lecture? Right, so I'm gonna play it. Please pay attention.
Directions. This section measures your ability to use
Okay, that was
writing task 1. Now listen to part of a lecture on the same topic you just read about. A lot of people are very excited about driverless cars, but most of the media attention and praise ignores the problems of driverless cars. The author seems to believe that autonomous cars will cure all of our driving troubles, when nothing could be further from the truth. Take the idea that driverless cars will be safer. Remember, all computer software is designed by humans, so any type of automatic guidance system within driverless cars will be prone to error. For example, the driverless car mentioned by the author, the one that drove over 700,000 miles without an accident, actually hit another car just last month. It was all over the news because it makes everyone doubt just how safe driverless cars actually are. And what about the idea that driverless cars will reduce pollution? Well, some studies suggest that more people will begin to drive once driverless cars become available. Since people will no longer need a driver's license to get behind the wheel, age restrictions for both young and old will no longer matter. More people will be on the road, and it will increase the amount of cars. Pollution levels may actually increase with driverless cars, even if they drive in a more fuel-efficient manner. As for the extra time the driverless cars are supposed to give us, well, that may be such a benefit after all. You see, most people nowadays find driving relaxing. They enjoy driving their car while listening to music or talk radio. It's a welcome distraction from the usual routine. Once people start to use driverless cars, it becomes another space to do work or watch videos, which is how most people already spend most of their day. I'm afraid that this extra time in driverless cars will just be another way to work or waste time. Now, answer the question. Summarize the points made in the lecture, being sure to explain how they cast doubt on the specific points made in the reading passage. You have 20 minutes to write.
Yes. So that was the lecture. I hope that you got those points. Let's see. So let's say that these are your notes. We said that you don't have to take notes from the reading, but let's say that you wrote down a few of the keywords. So the opinion was driverless cars are a positive thing because they're safer, better for the environment, and they will give us time, right? So we'll have more. So now let's talk about what we had in the lecture. First of all, what was the main idea of the lecture? What was the professor's opinion? Anyone?
Driverless isn't a cure.
Exactly. The driverless cars, are not a cure. So they won't cure our problems, right? Okay, anything else? Okay. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, that you probably did, but the professor objected each of the points that the writer made, right? So what does the professor think about the safety of these cars? Are they actually safe, according to the professor?
According to the professor, software as it is made by humans will have errors. The professor also stated that that car, the 700,000 miles car, hit another car last month. Yeah, he said as an example.
Okay, great, Ricardo. So yeah, I think that kind of sums it up. Anything else you guys want to add? Okay, so perfect. Yeah, he says that they're not safer because they're designed by humans, so they could actually make mistakes. And he gives the example. He refers back to the example that was mentioned in the reading, and says, "Well, that car that you mentioned actually had caused an accident, right? Hit another car." Now, what about the second point? Are they actually better for the environment?
About the environment, more people will be in this kind of cars, so there will gonna be more cars, and the pollution will be increased.
Great, perfect. Yes, more people will drive because more people will have access to these. You don't need a driver's license anymore. So that means more cars, and which in turn will create more pollution. Great. Anything else you guys want to add? Nice. And what about the idea of time?
He said that extra time will be benefit after all, but also he said that it would be another way to work.
Exactly. What else?
People wanna waste their time.
So the professor says that people actually enjoy driving, right? Some of them, or at least most of them. So they enjoy driving, they like it, it's a way to get out of the routine. And if you take this time away and you add this extra time that they will have, then it's just gonna be another space for them to do work or to waste time, right? To do things that they do, like trivial things maybe that they do all the time already. So it's not such a benefit after all. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about the lecture then? Is it all clear? All right, that's great. So does anyone remember what the question was? Or some, I mean, how it was, or I'm not telling you to repeat exactly what the question was, but an idea. The question is always going to be similar, if not the same. So basically what they ask is summarize the points made in the lecture, being sure to explain how they cast doubt on the points provided in the reading, right? It was something like that. Summarize the points made in the lecture, being sure to explain how they cast doubt on the points made in the reading. So basically what they want you to do is summarize what was said in the lecture, so what the professor said, but you need to like explicitly and noticeably contrast what the professor said to what the writer said, right? So you need to show that contrast. That's what you have to do. And remember that you get only 20 minutes to write the essay, which is not a lot. So let's see what we're gonna do with that. So first thing, we will have a template. Remember that templates are there so that you remember the structure. That's the main point of the template, right? And it helps, it definitely helps when writing your essay in the beginning. I know that this one looks long and hard to memorize, but you will see that at the end of the day, it's the same. The structure that you get in this template is exactly the same for each of the paragraphs that we have. You're just changing the words. You're just using synonyms so that you don't repeat. But let's see. First thing, in your essay, you should have 4 paragraphs, okay? Exactly 4. You need to have an introduction and you need to have 3 body paragraphs. Does that remind you of anything? Probably you're getting reminded of the structure from the article, right? So it's exactly like that. You have an introduction and you have 3 body paragraphs. So let's start with the introduction. In your introduction, you need to have 3 sentences. The first sentence is supposed to be you talking about the topic in general. So you just have to talk about what was the topic?
Driverless.
So in your first sentence, you're gonna say something about driverless cars. Of course, you're not gonna make it up. Remember that in the integrated questions, both in the speaking and in the writing, you can never talk about your opinions, your ideas, or your knowledge, your previous knowledge. So you don't have to make this up, right? You need to extract the information from either the reading or the listening, but you can never talk about something that you know from somewhere else, right? So we're gonna start by saying something like this. Both the article and lecture discuss, which basically means the article and the lecture talk about, right? It's the same. Both the article and lecture discuss the topic, driverless cars. And you guys have to add something to explain this a little bit more, to explain the topic a little bit more. So because leaving it there is okay, but it's not as good as it could be. So I want you guys to go back to the reading, to look in the introduction, something to say about the topic. So something to say about driverless cars. What can we use? Obviously, this has to be something that's not related to the opinion yet, right? So you cannot mention that they will have a positive impact. You just have to say something about driverless cars that's a fact, something that's like that is not open to debate.
It could be that these cars can drive without input from a human.
Great. So if you remember, you will have access to the reading. So technically speaking, you could do this, right? You could copy and paste. You could say driverless cars. Cars and copy and paste, right? I mean, you won't be able to copy and paste, but you can type whatever is said in the reading, right? These cars can drive without. You can do that. Do you think that it's a good idea to do that? Probably not, right? Remember, vocabulary is part of the rubric. So you better not copy and paste, and you better not cite, okay? Another thing that you have to avoid doing, which is normal to do in essays, you cannot do this, right? You cannot say, you cannot add quotation marks in there and cite something. So what you have to do instead is paraphrase. You have to say the same, but in different words. How can we say this? In different words.
The humans doesn't use the humans just don't drive a car.
Okay, great. Humans don't drive these cars, right? Good. Maybe we could say driverless cars. See, comma. So I'm gonna invert what you just said. You said humans don't drive these cars. So I'm gonna say driverless cars, vehicles that are not driven by humans, right? It's the same, but I'm changing it. So instead of subject object, I'm doing object subject. So driverless cars, vehicles that are not driven by humans, right? Or that are driven by themselves, we could also say there. So that's it. That is your first sentence. Okay, you talk about the topic. In general, you don't mention anything related to the opinions. We're gonna highlight it in like this shield, but you know where we are. What is the next thing you need to have? Next sentence is, reading's opinion, all right, or reading's opinion. So in this case, the opinion. So we're gonna say the reading extract, which basically is the article, claims, the reading extract claims that, and again, we already highlighted this, right? We need to hear at the opinion. So we know the opinion is that they will have a positive impact on our driving experience. So technically, you can go back and you can copy and paste. But it's not a good idea to do that, so we're gonna find a way to paraphrase. What can we say instead of saying this?
It could be they will have a good impact on our lifestyles.
Okay, a good. I like that, but maybe instead of good, we could say beneficial, favorable. I mean, positive is another option. So let's say beneficial impact on our lives. Great. But yes, there are many, many possibilities, right? There's no, as I said again, you don't like, there's no one sentence that's gonna be right and the other ones will be wrong. So if you had a different idea, then it's probably okay as well. As long as you're expressing the same idea, that's nice. And by the way, this is a comma. We're gonna add this phrase at the end that says, and provides 3 arguments of support. So here I'm referring to the 3 reasons that the reading gives, right? See how I am not mentioning what those are. I'm not saying anything related to safety or environment or anything like that, because you will do that in the body, okay? Please don't summarize the reasons yet, right? It's not a good idea to do that because if you do it, then, you got higher chances of being redundant and repeating words too. And if you were to add a conclusion, then you'll run out of things to say in the conclusion. Okay, so it's better not to summarize the reasons yet. So we're just gonna say, and provide 3 arguments of support. This is basically the second sentence, right? We're gonna highlight it in. Is that okay so far? Please let me know if you have any questions. If there's anything that's not so clear.
It's clear.
Okay, great, Alejandra, thanks. Now, finally, we need to get to the professor's opinion. So, third sentence is the lecture's main idea or the professor's opinion. This was the writer's opinion, right, or you? All right, so we're gonna say something like this. We're gonna say, however, the professor argues that, and we'll complete. Obviously, now we don't have like where to extract the content, but it'll be on your notes and it'll be on your memory. So what did the professor say? What can we say?
Driverless cars can be problematic.
Right, driverless cars can be problematic. Right? Objecting each of the author's arguments. Okay, so I'm just mentioning briefly that the professor also has his own points. And that's it. That's the third and final sentence for your introduction. So is that okay? Any questions about the introduction? So now we move on to the body paragraphs, and the structure for all of the body paragraphs will be the same. So what I want you guys to remember, this is a rule of thumb. You need to remember that in the body paragraphs, you need 1 sentence from the reading and 2 or more from the listening. Okay, so 2 or 3 for the listening, 1 for the reading. You need to keep that structure always. It's a waste of time to explain too much what you had in the reading, because remember that the focus should be on explaining the lecture, not the reading, right? So 1 sentence from the reading and 2 from the listening. That means first sentence will be idea from the reading. So we're gonna say the article starts by stating that, and here we need to talk about the first idea that the reading provides, which has to do with safety, right? We said that this car will be safe. So again, technically we could copy and paste. We could say the article starts by saying that these vehicles will be much safer because the software that runs driverless cars is not capable of making mistakes. Technically, you could write the same, but we want to paraphrase. So in your own words, how can we say that?
That you don't have to you don't have to be worried about to have an accident because the car use artificial intelligence.
Okay. It's not bad actually. I like how you change it into the second person. It's great. I don't know about the fact that they use artificial intelligence. Like probably they do, right? But I don't know. I'm not sure because I didn't read anything like that.
Can be
So
used technology to avoid accidents.
I'm sorry, Walter.
Can be used technology to avoid accidents.
Okay, you don't have to worry about it. So you want me to? Okay. I didn't quite get that. Sorry, Walter. Can you please go again?
We have used the artificial intelligence. We can say the car uses technology to avoid accidents.
Okay, great. Yeah, we could say maybe the car uses advanced technology. I wouldn't say to avoid accidents because I don't really want to repeat. You don't have to worry about accidents because the car will avoid accidents. Maybe you could say because the car uses advanced technology, that's not prone to error, right? Or that is not capable, that is not prone to error. That means that that cannot make mistakes, right? Something like that. Okay. But I like the idea. One tip, don't use contractions when writing for the TOEFL test. So you do not have to worry about accidents because the car uses advanced technology that is not prone to error. Great, honestly, that's perfect. I really like it. Something else, I'm not sure about which car we're talking about here, right? So you don't have to worry about accidents when driving, that we don't drive them, right? When using and being driven by it, when it comes to autonomous, right? Because they use advanced technology. Okay, so why am I doing this? Before I wasn't sure about which car we were talking about, right? We were saying you don't have to worry about accidents because the car uses advanced technology. So I don't see, I mean, obviously we know because we've read, but let's imagine that somebody who has no idea what this is about is reading. So you should be able to understand that this is about autonomous cars not having accidents. Okay, so it's important to clarify. So is that okay so far? Do you guys have any questions about that first sentence? So that's it. That's one sentence for the reading. Enough. No need of more details. I'm gonna say this. Okay. Now, finally, we have to contrast this with what the professor said in the reading, in the lecture, sorry. So we're gonna say nevertheless, which is a synonym for however. Nevertheless, in the presentation, it's noted that, and we need to basically summarize what the professor said, right? So we talked about the fact that the cars are designed by humans, which means that they could also make mistakes, and we have the example of that accident, right? So how can we do that? Any ideas?
It could be that in the presentation, it is noted that driverless cars, as they are designed by humans, are prone to error.
Okay. Great. So driverless cars, as they're designed by humans, are prone to error. Maybe we can add an adverb. You know, one tip I'm going to give you, add adverbs. One way to improve vocabulary and to emphasize and like make your ideas stronger is by using adverbs. So adverbs are those words that end like ly, like for example, unfortunately, luckily, hopefully, sadly, I don't know, truly. So those are gonna help you make your ideas stronger, emphasize on the contrast, right? That like, because at the end of the day, they wanna see how you can contrast the ideas. So they help. For example, here you could say, as they are designed by humans, are actually prone to error, right? Or are unfortunately prone to error as well, right? So you could use that adverb. Same thing here, you know, every time you're contrasting, you can use adverbs. You can say, however, the professor argues that, I don't know, in reality, driverless cars can be problematic. Maybe, unfortunately, driverless cars can be problematic too, right? So these adverbs help you emphasize or like, yeah, emphasize on the contrast, you know? So that's an idea. So is that okay? Anything else you want to add there? Okay. Now, maybe we could say thus or therefore. There is no guarantee that that they won't cause accidents, right? They will not cause accidents. Maybe we can add that. And now we can go to the example. Remember that the listening should be detailed, right? So we're gonna add the example that Ricardo was mentioning about the car that was mentioned in the reading. So we're gonna say, for example, and we'll talk about this car that actually hit another car. So how can we do that? What can we say?
Yeah. The last car that they prove have an accident, had an accident.
Okay. The last car that they proved had an accident. Okay. Maybe it'd be good to mention that this car was used as an example by the author, right? To even transform. So again, the last autonomous car that they proved, and maybe in parentheses we could say the one mentioned in the article or by the author had an accident, right? Or caused an accident. I don't know. Same thing, right? Had an accident. Maybe we could say casting doubt or questioning or making people question about the safety of these cars, right? Something like that. Making people, yeah, making people question safety. Okay, but it's great. Is that okay then? You guys have any questions so far? So that's it. As you can see, I have actually 3 sentences for the listening, 1 for the reading, right? That's the way that it should be. I don't know what else to say. That's the structure. Right now we're just looking at the structure, right? I'm not giving you too many tips as for the grammar or vocabulary. I gave you 1 tip for vocabulary, but we're mainly looking at the structure because we want to see how this template works, what to add in each part, right? So that you're not lost. So is there any questions about that? All right, we're gonna do this. Okay, it's time already. So we're gonna leave it here. Tomorrow we'll continue and we'll finish writing this essay and I'll give you guys more tips. Do you have any questions before we go?
No, teacher.
All right. And please don't forget today's survey and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, teacher. Bye.
Bye, teacher.
Bye, teacher.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, teacher.